All right, again, Introduction to Microsoft Word, the Foundations course. This is going to be a 4-part series that will allow you to see the full pieces of Microsoft Word from top to bottom. Today is going to be very, very foundational. And so if this is, again, if you have never had Microsoft Word experience at all, then this is going to be a great course for you. And again, we will get started here and just to see everything. So we're going to start real foundational with the toolbars and understanding what some of those buttons are going to do. And here we go. Again, the Zoom etiquette for this presentation, for everyone to hear, please stay muted during the entire presentation. I will definitely have a chance for everybody to ask questions at the conclusion. This presentation is being recorded for purposes for training and for future use to the public, so we'll be able to use these again in the future. Make sure you jot down all your questions, and we will go over those at the conclusion of the training. We'll have, again, there'll be a very big slide here for questions and comments that will allow you to take that time to ask questions to me, and I will go through that as well. An overview of today. Today is going to be, again, the foundation. So we're going to look and learn about some of the functions of what these buttons will do in Word. We're also going to identify some of the main components that will then, on that user interface. So we will go from Microsoft, we'll look at the slides today, and we'll also go into Microsoft Word as well, so you can see it live. And, and I will be able to show you exactly where these things are as opposed to just the image that you're seeing on the screen. It should be I wanted to give that visual just as well in this presentation. And then understanding the purpose of the commands on the menu bar. That's going to be very, very important because all of them have a different function as you see. So learning about that today, we're going to, again, build on everything we do next week on all of these different commands and different icons that will, you'll know really well, how to use Microsoft Word for your word processing. So again, we will go ahead and jump on into the presentation right now. Again, we're going to learn about the Microsoft Word functions that will allow you to, again, get to be able to use this program. It's a very great program altogether. And so you want to make sure that everything is, you're reading carefully. And again, I put a link in the chat to download this presentation if you wanted to print out and make some notes. That's just fine with me. Again, this is going to be available for everybody to use. Okay, here we go. So again, this is foundational. So again, we will be going a little bit slower today just to see exactly how all of the pieces of Microsoft Word come together. Again, this is what and again, you have word processing documents, you have Excel documents, which will be next month. And then we also have PowerPoint and Outlook, which does email. Today, again, we're going to focus on Microsoft Word, which again is a word processing document where you do letters, you can do, again, envelopes, you can do actual speeches, and you can type out just about anything on here. This is what Microsoft Word looks like. You will have, again, just a general document altogether. And this is how it'll look when you open up the program. You do have the toolbars. We're going to go through all of this stuff up here at the top today. And again, you will see that we have a lot of different buttons, and we have also a lot of different tabs up here too. We will go through all of these as well to show you. The tabs and stuff will be a little bit more in the next presentation next week. But again, we will look at Microsoft Word and on all the aspects of it. So again, that's the Word document. Now you're going to hear a little different terminology along the way. Again, Microsoft Word has several versions. Again, in versions, I mean the years it's come out. So again, while different versions have different appearances and they all get a little bit of a fresher look as you go, they all, again, have a lot of the same features. And then in the newer versions, they even have a lot of new features in there. So it's really, really important that we have everything, you get to see all the basics in the beginning, but then it builds as you go. So that's a really, really important thing to have as you go. So, and again, once you know what to call it, that button, you'll be able to find that again in the future versions of Microsoft Word. Okay, so now, starting to the beginning, when you open up the new document, you are going to see at the top, it says Document 1. Again, this area in red that you see up here off the top is called that title bar, okay? And it's also sometimes, in a lot of other versions, it's also blue, sometimes in the gray in some versions, and then blue in others. Now, like I said, I'm gonna go into Microsoft Word as well to get you can see this. Now, Microsoft Word, like you see, some of these are blue, like you see, and I'm gonna, again, share with the share of the screen here. You can then see, let me see if I can do that real quick. I think that actually, yeah, let me see if that will do it here. Just a moment. Let's see if I can get that. Yeah, here we go. There's document 1. So like I say, document in here, you have the Microsoft Word document. Some of these are going to be in blue as well. At the top of that title bar is, you can actually, it will come up as document 1 when you open up the program. And again, these can be saved at all the time. But again, when you do that, you're going to have, you have a lot of these different things like the title bar that will be always consistent on every time. Then, again, this displays, again, whenever the program opens, you will have that. You can then rename it to a different file name, which we'll see in a second. And again, these are, again, this is very congruent when it comes to all the Microsoft programs. You will see that sometimes there'll be spreadsheet or it'll be document. And again, Word is document. So you're going to have a title bar here where you can then change that at any point. So again, the outline part of it right here is the title bar of the file. Now, when we go in here, again, it defaults to the document 1. However, like I mentioned, you can change that. And again, when I mentioned before that you have, we'll talk about Excel next month in October. Now, you do have what Microsoft Word is known as documents. Excel is known as a spreadsheet. So when we talk about Microsoft Word, we're talking about a word processing document, again, where you can type in letter, you can type a letter, or you can type in any kind of Word document that you want to be able to convey a message. Now, those were very important along the way. Again, just something to kind of keep in mind. Now, older versions of Microsoft Word, now you'll see, now a lot of the new ones, you don't see the ending, used to where they showed the ending of like .doc. The .doc is, again, document, and that's usually used in older versions, usually past about 2010 and back is usually what you see as the .doc. Now, our newer versions, like in 2013 and 16, and so the ones that we're going to see at today, you're also seeing the new one that's called DOCX. And again, those are the newer versions. Most of the time, you'll want to save those in the newer versions because a lot more features are available. The .doc has a lot of older features that may not be, that may have been phased out or that have had upgrades. So you're going to see that .doc, you know, it's not, you're not going to see it as much in the newer versions. It'll default to the .docx, you know, in the like 2013, 2016 versions. So just be aware of that. That again, that's kind of understood after that one there. It's like .docx for these newer versions. So just know that's what it's doing there. Again, that's Microsoft Word as a document, and this is how you can save those. And again, you can change the name of that as well. One of the other things as well, and again, we will talk more about the tabs in session 2, which will be next week. Now, we are going to focus also, and again, very, very foundational. If you have it, if in Windows, kind of, you're going to see the same thing here in the programs like Microsoft Word and Excel. And in the top right corner, you're going to see the red box here. We have what we know as the minimize, maximize, and close, okay? When you click the minimize button, which is here in red, that will actually, again, take the window that you have for Microsoft Word and it will move it to the bottom of the screen, okay? Because it's very important to know that in Windows, if you haven't had a whole lot of knowledge with Windows, you could take one window, move it away. If you wanted to bring it back, you'll also see the next one, which we'll talk about maximize. But any window, you know, in Word as well as in any other program, that's pretty common on the, especially on the Windows side of stuff. Now, Macs do a little bit differently, which we won't talk in this course. However, in Windows, you will have a top bar up here that will have very, very consistently on every window a minimize function as well as the maximize and then the red button for close. Again, this is kind of an older picture of those three. However, same principle applies. It's just a little bit more modern up here. But again, you can see that all of these windows will come just like that whenever you come onto a document or to a spreadsheet. So again, minimize. This again is the minimize button when it comes to those kind of things. All right. And now, like I say, let me go back in here and we're going to look at it again in the version with the Word document itself. So in here, again, a Word document, again, same principles. So this is, again, the newest version I've got on the Office 365. Same principles apply, though. Now, like I say, you're not going to see a whole lot of difference. But again, it's just a little bit more modern. Now, again, on these windows, you see here the minimize, the maximize, and close. And then the document at one up here. And just to kind of show you in the live way, when you go in here, if you wanted to save the document, you go into your file menu. And again, it brings out a whole big menu as well. Whenever you want to rename it as a new file, you'll hit the save as, okay? And then you will be able to put a folder together or whatever you like to do and rename it, okay? Again, they've put these in here where you can pick the folder. And see, in these newer versions, they put the file name up here. And like I told you, when you look at the Word document, that right there, the .docx, is where the newer version, which you want to save that now because that's where it defaults to. That's your common ending for word processing documents now. So if you wanted to type in new file, I type in new file, and then you have the Word document is going to be the understood ending for this. And then you'll be able to click save. And you'll notice at the top here, once we do save it, and it goes here a little bit, you'll notice right up here, it now changed to new file, .doc. And again, in Microsoft 365, you have the auto save that allows you to not worry about if you're going to lose any of your information. It's a cloud-based. So if you've heard of the cloud, you know a lot of your files can be stored in the cloud space. And it actually will, and again, these applications hook up to the Microsoft cloud base, where you'll never have to worry about saving anymore, especially in these cases where you have a bunch of words and paragraphs together. You can then make sure it's on autosave, and it will do that. Some of the older versions just make sure to file and save again, and then again when you get down here, you just want to go ahead and just hit. Usually there's a save in here, but just save this at the end. And that's very, very important though. But that's kind of where we're at right now. We've saved the document and we renamed it. And now you're able to start your document, and it's important now that you got that, it'll auto save for you along the way. So again, seeing the live version, that's what it does. And so we're going to go back in here again. So now let's look back again, and we will go back over to the presentation. Let me get back in here to the. Okay, here we go. So again, that's how we got through, and then we minimize the windows. Then I'll bring it down. Now, and we'll see an example of all three of those in just a moment once we get through the maximize and then closing, okay? So now the second part of this is where you go to maximize restore. Now this portion here is the middle button, and you see there's multiple windows in this icon. And what that does is that you can actually take that window that you previously did and you can maximize it again. You can actually click on the window and make it bigger. So again, minimize to lower and take into lower to open another window, and maximize to bring another window up over it. So again, you can see in the picture here, bring another window over it where that'll take center stage, of what you're working with. So again, clicking on the maximize and restore button, it assumes that it's the same shape, same size it was before you minimized it, and it'll bring it right back to that screen where you had it before. Or, like you say, the program window itself will fill the screen. It depends on how your computer settings are. But again, that's what minimize and maximize do. And again, that's very common all across Windows. And I'm talking Microsoft Windows, your operating system, not just the Microsoft software like Word, Excel, but that is that way all across Windows. Very, very common feature in every one of those. So very, very important to know, what those do. And in Word documents, you might have multiple documents going. And that's perfectly fine too. Just know what those two do, and then you can work in between those at any time. So again, that's maximize and restore. And then you have the close button. And in close, again, it does exactly what it's doing. You're closing out, you're Xing out of that window. And then what that means is that you're done with it. You're basically, it's going to go away and you'll have to reopen it if you decide to do that. It won't be there anymore, like in the background. You'll have to actually open it again through the actual program and through Word. So again, those are why all three of those are very, very important when it comes to moving your documents around, whether you just want to lower it to the bottom of your screen because you're not worried about it right now, or you want to maximize it and bring it back to that center stage and allow yourself to be able to go in and, you know, bring that document up and start working on it again. But again, when you close the document like you see, that again will, it'll ask you to save the changes. And then once those changes have been saved and you respond to that, then the program will close. You know, if it's just the one document, it'll close all of Word. If they have multiple documents, it'll just close the one document and until you make sure you're saving it. And if you don't want to save it, you don't have to as well. So again, all of those are all valid points. And you'll see those again commonly all the way through the Microsoft platform and Windows, just to make that very, very clear. Now, let's look at the left side here. Now, this is also important too. We have other menu choices up here at the top. So we looked at here earlier at the top right. Now we're going to look at the top left. And again, the area outlined in red is what we call the quick access toolbar. And again, these are some of your common icons that you'll use in Word, especially like the little disc, which represents the save button. You'll also look at the arrow that says kind of go backwards, which is the undo button. And then you also have the one where sometimes if you want to continue doing the same thing over and over, there's also a repeat button. It kind of hides though in between. And again, sometimes it's grayed out if there's nothing to repeat, or you also have up here the portion of the menu that it'll show up here as a repeat if you want to do the same process again. So again, those are some of the things you do have up here in the quick access toolbar. And again, you'll remember all of these tabs. Again, we'll talk about those next time. But you do have these common ones like the save button, which is very important in some of the older programs, of Word, that you want to make sure you hit save. And recommendation every 5 minutes, if you're doing a bunch of activity, since you sometimes don't have the auto save all the way, make sure to hit that save button every 5 minutes. It's just a good rule of thumb because then you won't lose some of the information you had. In case your computer had a issue with a file, or if it was something in the operating system that just wants to shut down, we've seen it all. We know that. We've seen that in all of our computers before. It has a mind of its own sometimes. But a good principle, though, is to make sure to save every 5 minutes and go in there and just hit that little disk button. That's very, very important. But you're going to see these common things in Word up here at the top left. And again, the quick access toolbar, keep that in mind. Again, it's the most commonly used commands in Microsoft Word. And these three right here that you see right here on these icons, the save, the undo, and then usually if it shows up, it'll show the repeat button. And we use those all the time. So again, these are kind of the basics when it comes to learning the functions. Now, when we go back in here, let's go back in here to the main document real quick, into new file. Now, again, what we have here is that we're going to have a new file. We look up here, and now they've adjusted some of these a little bit, but that's okay. We also, the new file toolbar and all that, they've actually combined these in the newer version to a little bit more of there's a menu. See that quick access toolbar up here? Now, you'll see that because in the newer versions, there's a lot more features. So you do have to kind of see if there's going to be other options that you want to do. And sometimes you could do a document. And again, and I'll give you a little piece of this, as well. And up here, again, you have your main minimize, the actual maximize button, and then the close button. Okay. I'm not going to close this document, but I do want to show you the minimize. Okay. So if you minimize it, you can do that. And again, the minimize is there, and then I can bring it back. Okay. Now I can also do in the screen share. I know that's a little tougher. I don't know exactly how it did, but I can also show you what the maximize, minimize, and then restore. So You can also shrink down the window when you hit that maximize button to minimize, because that was and then again, you can restore it back to where it was. So those, again, the windows do that as well. And then you close, and since this is the only document, and then you remember, when we have a document like this, it will then close the whole program because there's only one there. If there were multiple documents, it will ask you, if this particular document you're done with and you want to save, and then it will close that window. Okay, and remember, think of it as windows too when you're doing multiple files, because a file is equal to a window a lot of times. And when if you're done with that document, it will close that one document until you get to the end. And then if you have multiple files, then finally at the end, when you get that last file, it will close it out. That'll be the end of it. And then again, it gives you the option to save that whenever you're ready to exit. But again, you got these features up here. Again, the actual quick access toolbar is here in the newer version. It is listed in here where you can you have several options to allow yourself to either, to add a new document, to save it. Again, these are your common, when you see the check marks here, these are the kind of common ones that you do. And again, your auto save is a new feature, so it adds in there. You can even print to stuff as well. And again, a lot of these features are new, and a lot of them have been around, but they are becoming more common. And that's why they have those in here if you want to add that to your toolbar. So again, you have some options to add the new button in there. You can add the email, quick print, and a lot of these will work out just fine. But again, we'll explore a lot of these different tabs in our second session. But just to give you kind of a sneak preview of this, again, the home one is going to be one of your main ones, and it's one of the core pieces of Microsoft Word. Again, you see this very, very common. You see this actual page very common across all platforms. However, especially in the Office suite of software like you have with Word, Excel, PowerPoint, which we'll look at all of these and these features, each of these has the menu very, very similar to this. You will see this very, very much almost in every program in the Microsoft Office type suite of programs. So again, once you get used to Word like this, you will notice the same thing across all the platforms. And again, you do have your file menu. As you always remember, your file menu is right there. You always get the stuff right in here, okay? The home, and again, these are going to be what we call tabs, okay? And if you remember, like a file folder, you can think of it just like that. We're going to be going to several different file folder tabs. And so, like I said, just to kind of give you a little bit of a taste of what's next, we're going to be looking at all of these different tabs, the home one being one of the primary ones that you'll use with most of your common things. However, you will see a lot of the different things. There's a lot of different buttons in here that we will go through too. And again, if you remember copy and paste, well, here you go. The copy and paste function is also very common on the home screen. So you can actually paste your stuff in here. So again, if I wanted to put in here, this is my favorite document to put together. Okay, so again, we have the sentence here, and then we have the copy and paste function. And we'll go through it how all of these work. However, when you go in, I want you to know that you can, again, there's multiple ways to do this in Word, and as well as any of the other programs. But to start though, if you've ever heard of the command prompts, you can actually use those a lot quicker. Or if you like to use the menu, you can do that too. And there's either way works. There's no right or wrong when it comes to it. You have multiple options. And that's one thing that Microsoft does really well. They give you options. And then lots of other programs do that as well. But you do have options when it comes to finding that in the menu and doing that. But again, when you see in here your common things, they have the clipboard up here. They also have your fonts. They have your paragraph where you can do spacing and as far as where you want to align the text. And then you have different styles. Now, people love some of these styles are really cool. So you can actually you can change your styles on them. You can switch that there. You can make it a little bit bigger, the title type. You can just hover over them. I'm not even clicking on them. You can just hover over on some of these and see the different styles as well. But every one of them have a different feel to it. And you'll see when it says heading 1, which is usually, and it's also usually the biggest text you're going to find. And when you get to 2, 3, 4, those get smaller, just to kind of keep that, show you there. So like heading 1 here, and then you look at heading 2, it's a little bit smaller. Then you have a title, which is a much bigger, because it's going to be your main thing that you have on the top of the page, or subtitle. So you got the styles there that we'll look at. And then again, you have editing, where you can do search and replace and select. And then you have some of these other common ones. But in here, again, some of the common things is copy paste, which is great. So you can right here on the toolbar, you can go right here to copy, and then you can go right here to the next line and paste, just like that. So you're getting your copy and paste right there. That's a very, very common one that you'll use inside all of the programs. This is not just Word, but you can use it with any of them. And again, it's pretty standard all across. But you can do copy paste there. You can also change the fonts as well, like in the next menu. See how you have these common things that you're going to want to just set up in your document. That's why the home screen is so important, because you use these all the time. And then you have your bold, you have your italicized, and then your underline. So again, all of these are here. You can do all of those. And then you can also size stuff. So you can do it 1 or 2 ways actually with the sizing. You can actually go off of here, and then you can actually increase it here. So like we had this, and you can actually bring it back down like this, as this. And if I wanted to take off my underline, I could do that. And then same thing here. I can go in and I can make this a little bit bigger. So you have, again, sizing here like this, or you can do the little letters. You can increase it just like this. Either way works. Like I said, there's multiple ways to do stuff. There's nothing, no right or wrong. And then colors, you can actually do the colors too. So again, text. Now do remember though, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah, here we go. Let's go in here. So we zoom in here, and then on that, you got the color one, font colors. So you can change your font colors in the little wheel here. So those are available. And then you've also got where you can highlight as well. So if I wanted to highlight this with yellow, I could do it. Okay. And here's the other part. Remember the undo? Remember our quick access toolbar? Now this is where that comes into play. You can if you didn't want to do that, you can go backward. It'll take it backward for you. Okay. Or I kind of like it after all. I can go redo and go repeat that again. So again, this is my favorite document to put together. Well, here you go. You can if you do like that, if you can go backward on that. And again, this is auto saving, all the time, so you don't have to worry about that. And it tells you that right here at the top. But again, your titles, you can, again, fonts too. You can change your font as well, and see how it got bigger now because the font's just a little different. I can take that down and make it go all the way across. So those are good too. And then now I'm going to go and back away a little bit. And again, you'll see when we get down the line, you will see a little bit about how these tabs work. And like sometimes I have to go to the view because I'm looking at the screen and it looks big to me. And that's a good thing sometimes. However, just to see a little bit further back, you can actually go back to 100%, just like this. And now you can see the whole page and get a better view of what's on there. But I go right back to home here, so then I can actually center this up. So now we have our document and we put some words on there, we've centered it, and again, we can now make this, and if we don't want that to be red, we can change it again back to black, just like that. Or I want to make this red as the title, and I can put that on there, just like this. So you're getting an idea now that there's multiple ways of how you can use these functions, and you see the tabs along the way here too. Again, they're all intertwined. Everything, you use every bit of this stuff. But again, learning the foundations of it, we will go through each one of these tabs to show you what exactly is happening, because all of these will all together work hand in hand, when you do this document. So that was just kind of a sneak preview into next week as well. because we will go into further about the tabs, and we will go, it's again, it's going to be kind of a fun one because we will get to see a lot more of, what these functions are doing. You got to see a little bit of the outline of it, from the Windows perspective. And now we'll dig deeper into the menu bars because those are going to be super important as we go along in this training. All right, let me go ahead and get back to the presentation real quick because we're getting close to the end here. Now, in summary, again, we learned about some of these functions. And again, what you saw today allows you to know you can take a document, you can save it, you then can go in and when you save it, you actually can put a new name on it. And then you can then do all those different things that we had. You can put some text on the screen, you could center it, change the color, the sizing. You can see how all of those work hand in hand. So again, we learned a little bit about those functions today, which we'll build on as we go. And then we also identified the main components of the user interface. Like I said, we looked at the windows about minimize, maximize, and then closing the document. And then we looked at as well, when we got up there, we also had the quick access toolbar. Some of your most common type of icons like save, the undo button, and also repeating or redo. So you can go back and you can reverse one thing and then you could go back to it if that was something you decide you want to do. And sometimes it keeps a record of your actions on there. So you can if you had a few times that you remember you went back, you can look back in the history and go back to where it was. So all of those, again, all those work hand in hand. They're real important though. And then again, we're understanding the purpose of these commands on the menu bar. We demonstrated that today. We saw how you get on the Microsoft Word. And again, just looking back at that, we understand when you look at those command prompts, you then have, you have all of these that work, the home tab, the insert tab, which we'll talk again. These all, again, understanding what they do makes you have more knowledge in how you can make a great document. And you can do, and again, a lot of people create forms from Microsoft Word, which then, if you've ever heard of the PDF with the portable document format, which is what we're seeing in the presentation today, that you could take these documents and save them into that PDF format, and then you could build all kinds of stuff from that. Word is kind of that foundation, pun intended in this case, is the foundation to a lot of the things that you see out on the web. And understanding what these functions will do will go a long way. Again, but yeah, all of these commands have a great big function in this Word document. And then you use those different types of tabs along the way that have other resources that make your document even better. Again, we'll talk more about those as we go. But again, this is the format you'll see. Next time, take a look at these, see how you can start a document, save it, and to do a few of these little functions. They're all real important to the process. And then we will build on those next time when we go through, and we'll go through all those toolbars that allow you to see really what Word is all about. Because there's a lot there. And if you're really up for the challenge for October, Excel will definitely be. Those are probably going to be pre-recorded because there's so much there. I will be on it. I'll be on doing it live, but the actual sharing of the presentation will probably be pre-recorded so I can get everything in. And if there's things along the way that we need to stop at, I can do that. But again, that's how all that comes. So we have come to the conclusion again, and again, one or two things we can do here. I will again open the floor for questions if there's anything at all. If you have, again, this is the time to ask questions. And again, I put the link in there in the chat. I'll probably do it one more time here, so in case anybody came on after I put that in there. As a matter of fact, let me do that real quick here, and I'll put this one more time for, I think Mr. Frank came in a little bit later, so let me make sure that he got the link. There we go. So again, you can download from this link as the presentation from today. And again, there's also a link at the conclusion of that handout that will take you to a place where you can comment about the presentation. You don't have to have a login or anything. You can just go in to comment. Whatever you liked about that presentation, that will be something that you can then share with others, and I can look at for making the next presentation possible. Again, those kind of things are very important for me. The feedback is huge. So it helps me guide to what I'm going to be able to teach next time on top of what I already planned to teach. So those are, again, are very, very important though. So again, I'm going to open the floor up. You can go ahead and unmute if you like. And please let me know if there's anything I can do to go back through with Microsoft Word. The floor is yours. Does anybody have any questions? Well, it was that good, I guess. Okay. Well, I'm so excited. But please, I mean, again, if you have any questions at all and if you think of anything at all, matter of fact, I'm going to put in the chat my email as well. If you haven't done so, you can also reach out here at the summit, and I can get with you on all of that. And let me see here if I can get the chat in here. So again, on the chat here, my email address is on the screen if you need to jot that down. You can send me, and that's usually the best way to get a hold of me because I am in and out of the office a lot. But again, these presentations on Word and when we get to Excel and PowerPoint, all of these are they all have a different function that make be able to present and to be able to relay that message, to folks. Those kind of things are so important to the process, and that's why we're going to go through very, very slowly as we go. But again, each of these, we will build next week on the menu bar, the commands, and then again, we're going to put those things to the test. And that's one thing I really love to emphasize in these trainings is that I want to show it to you on the screen, but then also I want to see it live as well, to be able to actually use the program and see how those things look while I drive and show you where those are in the menu. So again, that's what we're going to continue doing as we go. But your feedback is very important, though. And again, one last call for any questions that you may have before we finish up. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you very, very much. Again, I thank you so much for being here today. Again, we will get next week here, Tuesday at 10 a.m. We will go through the second session on this whole particular thing for Microsoft Word. Today, you've got to watch the Foundations course, and you've been able to see, again, how these little elements will start building up to the big things in Microsoft Word. And again, I hope you all have enjoyed it. We'll see you next time, and have a great Tuesday and the rest of the week. Y'all take care.